The alarm screamed through the mining station like a dying animal. Lee Minji dropped her coffee mug and ran toward the command center. The hot liquid splashed across the metal floor, but she did not look back. Her boots pounded against the corridor as red emergency lights painted everything in blood. She had been a combat medic for 6 years. She knew what different alarms meant. This one meant danger from outside. This one meant something had found them in the darkness of space. Report. Commander Park Dong-hyun's voice cut through the chaos in the command center. Officers rushed between screens and control panels. The main display showed something Minji had never seen before. A ship. Not human. Not anything in their database. The vessel looked like a piece of art made from dark metal and blue light. It was 3 times larger than their mining station. Smooth curves and sharp angles mixed together in ways that hurt to look at. Symbols glowed along its surface in patterns that seemed to move and shift. "They're hailing us," said Han Sora from the communications station. Her hand shook as she worked the controls. Audio and visual coming through now. The screen flickered. A face appeared. Minji felt her breath catch in her throat. The being on the screen stood nearly 8 feet tall. Its skin was pale gray and smooth like polished stone. 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on its face, each one glowing with a soft purple light. No nose that she could see. A thin line for a mouth. Its head was elongated, swept back like the hull of its ship. It wore armor that seemed to be made from the same material as the vessel. The armor pieces floated slightly above its body, held in place by some invisible force. Symbols glowed and changed across the chest plate. "I am Commander Thelrek of the Vreth Empire," the being said. Its mouth barely moved, but the words came out clear and cold. "You have entered our territory. Your vessel and all its contents now belong to the Empire. Submit immediately." Park Dong-hyun stepped forward. Minji saw his jaw tighten. "This is Commander Park Dong-hyun of the human mining vessel Taejang. We received no warning about territorial boundaries. We are a civilian station. We want no conflict." "Your ignorance is not our concern," Thelrek said. "You have 10 of your minutes to power down your vessel and prepare for boarding. Resistance will be met with elimination." The screen went dark. The command center exploded into activity. Park started giving orders. "Kim Yuna, get down to engineering. I want every system ready. Han Sora, send emergency signals to Earth Command. Everyone else battle stations." Minji was already moving. She ran to the armory on Deck 3. Other crew members rushed past her, their faces pale with fear. The Taejang was a mining station, not a warship. They had weapons for defense against pirates and station security. 20 crew members total. Most of them were engineers and scientists. But every crew member on deep space stations received combat training. They had to. Space was big and empty and full of things that wanted to kill you. In the armory, Minji grabbed her pulse rifle. The weapon hummed to life in her hands, a familiar weight. She checked the charge pack. Full. She clipped extra packs to her belt. Around her, Security Officer Choi Junho handed out weapons to crew members who looked like they had never held a gun before. "You remember your training?" Junho said to a young engineer who could not stop his hands from shaking. "Point and shoot. The rifle does the rest. Stay behind cover. Watch your corners." Minji helped a scientist named Kim Yuna adjust her armor vest. Yuna was Minji's closest friend on the station. They had shared meals and stories for 2 years. Now they might die together. "I'm scared," Yuna whispered. "Me too," Minji said. She checked Yuna's rifle and made sure the safety was off. "But we're going to get through this. We're human, we adapt, we survive." The 10 minutes passed like 10 seconds. The station shuddered. Something had attached to their hull. Minji heard the screech of metal on metal. They were cutting through. Park's voice came over the intercom. "All hands, they're boarding at docking port 7 in the cargo bay. Defensive positions. Do not let them reach the command center or engineering." Minji ran with a squad of 6 others toward docking port 7. They set up behind cargo containers and support pillars. Junho positioned people with good lines of fire. Minji knelt behind a container, her rifle aimed at the airlock door. Her heart hammered in her chest. Her hands were steady. Years of training took over. The airlock door glowed red, then white, then it exploded inward in a shower of molten metal. Breath soldiers poured through the opening. They moved fast, impossibly fast. Their armor absorbed the light, making them look like shadows with purple eyes. Each one carried a weapon that looked like a piece of crystal attached to metal rods. The crystals pulsed with blue light. "Fire!" Junho shouted. The corridor lit up with pulse rifle shots. Bolts of energy streaked toward the Vreth soldiers. The aliens raised their left arms. Shields made of blue light appeared. The pulse shots hit the shields and scattered into harmless sparks. Minji fired 3 shots. All 3 hit the same shield and did nothing. The Vreth soldiers aimed their crystal weapons. They fired no sound, no visible beam, just a wave of something that made Minji's teeth hurt. Every light went out. Every screen went dark, and Minji's pulse rifle died in her hands. She looked down at her weapon. The display screen was black. The hum of the power pack was gone. She pressed the trigger. Nothing happened. Around her, other crew members had the same problem. Their weapons were dead. The emergency lights did not come back on. The backup systems did not activate. What did they do? Someone screamed in the darkness. Minji understood immediately. An electromagnetic pulse, but not like anything humans had created. This was focused, precise. It killed their weapons but left life support running. Left gravity working. It was designed to disarm without destroying. Purple lights moved in the darkness. The Vreth soldiers advanced. Their armor glowed softly, giving them vision while the humans stumbled blind. Minji heard weapons clatter to the floor, heard people running, heard Junho shouting orders that no one could follow. She dropped her useless rifle. Her hand went to her belt. She pulled out her combat knife. 10 inches of steel. Old technology. Simple technology. Technology that did not need electricity to kill. A Vreth soldier appeared in front of her, its 4 eyes glowing like purple stars. It was huge, towering over her. It raised its crystal weapon, pointing it at her chest. It thought she was disarmed. It thought she was helpless. It did not know that humans had been killing each other long before they invented electricity. Minji moved. She ducked under the weapon and came up inside the soldier's reach. Her knife found the gap between the floating armor pieces at its side. The blade sank in deep. The soldier made a sound like breaking glass. Purple blood sprayed across her face. The Vreth soldier fell. Minji pulled her knife free. Around her, the sounds of panic continued. But something had changed in her mind. A thought formed, clear and bright as a star. They took away our guns. They thought that would make us helpless. They don't know what we are. They don't know what humans can do with nothing but their hands and their will to survive. She wiped the purple blood from her eyes and looked for the next target. The Vreth had made a terrible mistake. They had disarmed humanity's weapons, but they had forgotten that humans were the real weapons. They always had been. The darkness was nearly complete. Only the purple glow from Vreth armor provided light in the corridor. Minji pressed herself against the cold metal wall and controlled her breathing, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Slow and steady, panic killed faster than bullets. 3 Vreth soldiers moved past her position. They searched the corridor with weapons raised, looking for humans who had scattered into the maintenance tunnels and storage rooms. The aliens moved with confidence. They thought the battle was over. They thought disarming the humans meant victory. They were wrong. Minji waited until the last soldier passed her hiding spot. She stepped out of the shadows. Her knife was ready. She moved on silent feet, a skill learned from years of martial arts training. Her grandmother had taught her when she was 6 years old. The old woman always said technology would fail, but the body never would. The Vreth soldier did not hear her coming. Its armor sensors probably detected only heat and electronic signatures. A human with no powered equipment was invisible to their technology. Minji struck fast. The knife went into the back of the soldier's neck, right where the floating armor pieces had a gap. The blade severed something important. The Vreth made that breaking glass sound again and collapsed without firing its weapon. The other 2 soldiers turned. Minji was already moving. She grabbed the fallen alien's crystal weapon. It was heavier than it looked. She did not know how to fire it, but that did not matter. She threw it hard at the nearest soldier's face. The weapon hit with a satisfying crack. One of the alien's 4 eyes went dark. It stumbled backward. Minji charged. She had no weapon now except her hands, but hands were enough. She had trained in combat medicine, learned where every species kept its vital organs. The Vreth body was similar to human in basic layout. Heart, lungs, major arteries. She slid low under the alien's wild shot. Her fist drove up into what she hoped was its solar plexus. The Vreth doubled over. Minji's elbow came down on the back of its neck. Something crunched. The soldier hit the floor and did not get up. The 3rd soldier started to raise its weapon. A metal pipe swung out of the darkness and smashed into its head. The alien dropped. Choi Junho stepped into the dim light holding the pipe like a baseball bat. Blood ran down his face from a cut above his eye. His rifle was gone. His armor vest was scorched. "Good thinking," he said, looking at the 3 dead Vreth soldiers. "They're fast and their armor is tough, but they bleed like anything else." "We need to regroup," Minji said. She picked up her knife from the first soldier's corpse and cleaned the purple blood on the alien's uniform. "Find survivors. Figure out how many of them are on the station." Junho nodded. "I saw at least 20 come through docking port 7. Maybe more in the cargo bay. They're spreading through the station room by room." "Then we make them pay for every meter," Minji said. They moved through the corridors carefully. The emergency lighting was dead. Only the occasional glow from Vreth armor gave them any vision. But Minji had walked these halls for 2 years. She knew every corner and crawl space. This was her home. The Vreth were invaders. They found Han Sora hiding in a storage closet, clutching a wrench like a weapon. She nearly hit Minji with it before recognizing her in the darkness. "They killed everyone at the communications station," Sora whispered. Her voice shook. "I tried to finish sending the distress signal, but their pulse weapon destroyed everything. I don't know if Earth got the message." "You're alive," Minji said. "That's what matters now. Come with us. We're fighting back." "With what?" Sora held up the wrench. "They took our guns. We're miners and scientists. They're soldiers with armor and shields." Junho hefted his pipe. "They have technology. We have anger and stubbornness. In close quarters, I like our chances." They found 4 more survivors in the next 10 minutes. A young engineer named Park Minho, 2 security officers, Kim Hyun and Lee Daeho, and Kim Yuna, Minji's friend, who had a nasty burn on her arm but was still breathing. "They shot everyone who stood and fought," Yuna said as Minji wrapped her burn with medical supplies from an emergency kit. "The pulse killed our weapons, so people tried to charge them or throw things. The Vreth just shot them down, no mercy, no hesitation." "Then we don't give them any either," Minji said. She looked at the small group gathered around her. 7 people, maybe more scattered throughout the station, against at least 40 Vreth soldiers. "Listen to me," she said. "I killed 3 of them. Chunyo killed 1. They die just like anything else, but we can't fight them the way they expect. No standing and shooting. We use the station. We use the dark. We use everything humans learned about fighting before we ever picked up a gun." "Guerrilla warfare," Junho said, understanding. "Hit and run. Ambush and fade. Make them afraid of every shadow." "Exactly," Minji said. "The Vreth have better technology, but this station is a maze. We know every vent, every crawl space, every service tunnel. They don't. We become ghosts. We make them bleed." She divided them into 2 teams. Junho took Park Minho and the 2 security officers. Minji kept Sora and Yuna with her. They would move through different sections of the station, strike at Vreth patrols, and draw the aliens into traps. "One more thing," Minji said. "I fought one of them up close. They're fast but not as strong as they look. Their armor has gaps at the joints. Neck, armpits, behind the knees. Go for those spots. And their eyes, they have 4 of them. Take those out and they're blind." "You learned all that from killing 3 of them?" Yuna asked. "Combat medicine teaches you anatomy," Minji said. "Every living thing is just a collection of parts. Break the right parts and the whole thing stops working." They split up. Minji led her team through a maintenance tunnel that ran parallel to the main corridor. Through the metal grating, she could see Vreth soldiers searching rooms below. They were methodical, professional, but they moved like they expected no real resistance. That would change. "There," Minji whispered. A single Vreth soldier stood guard at an intersection. Its back was to a ventilation shaft. "Perfect," she pointed at Sora. "Open that shaft quietly." Sora used her wrench to loosen the bolts on the vent cover. It took 2 minutes that felt like 2 hours. Every small sound seemed impossibly loud. But the Vreth soldier did not turn around. When the cover was free, Minji slipped through the opening. The shaft was narrow and dark. She crawled forward on her elbows, her knife between her teeth like pirates in old stories. The metal was cold against her skin. She reached the end of the shaft. Below her, the Vreth soldier stood perfectly still like a statue, waiting, guarding, confident that no threat would come from above. Minji pushed the vent cover aside. She dropped through the opening. The soldier started to turn, too slow. She landed on its shoulders, her thighs locking around its neck. Her knife came down into the gap between helmet and chest armor. Once, twice, 3 times. Purple blood sprayed. The soldier collapsed. Minji rolled away and came up ready to fight. But the corridor was empty except for the dead alien. She dragged the body into a dark corner. Let the Vreth find it. Let them wonder. Let them start to fear. Sora and Yuna dropped down from the vent shaft. Yuna stared at the dead soldier. They're not invincible, Minji said. Pass that message to anyone we find. The Vreth bleed, they die, and we're going to kill every single one that came onto our station. An explosion rocked the corridor. The sound came from the direction of engineering. Then they heard Vreth voices, harsh and angry, shouting in their alien language. Minji smiled in the darkness. Yuno's team had struck their first blow. The battle for the Taejong had truly begun. The Vreth had superior technology, better armor and more soldiers, but they were fighting on human ground now. And humans had been killing efficiently since the dawn of time. They did not need pulse rifles to be dangerous. Sometimes the most deadly weapon was simply the refusal to quit. The Vreth would learn that lesson. Minji would make sure of it. She gripped her knife and moved toward the next target. Behind her, Sora and Yuna followed. 3 humans in the dark. 3 hunters who had become the hunted turned hunters again. The Vreth came to take the station. They would leave in body bags, if they were lucky. Commander Thelrek stood in the command center of his ship and stared at the reports coming from the boarding parties. His 4 eyes narrowed in confusion. The data made no sense. 12 Vreth soldiers dead, 17 injured, against a mining station with no operational weapons. Explain this, he said to his tactical officer. The officer's skin had paled to almost white, a sign of distress in Vreth physiology. Commander, the humans are fighting with primitive methods, blades, blunt instruments, their own limbs. Our soldiers report ambushes in darkness. Close quarters combat. The humans use the station's infrastructure against us. Impossible, Thelrek said. We deployed the electromagnetic pulse. Their weapons are neutralized. Without technology, they should be helpless. They are not helpless, Commander. Thelrek pulled up video feed from one soldier's armor camera. The footage was dark and grainy. A corridor. 3 Vreth soldiers advancing in formation. Then something dropped from above. A human female. She moved with shocking speed. Her blade found the gaps in armor that should have been too small to target. 2 soldiers down in seconds. The 3rd soldier tried to fire its weapon. The human grabbed his arm and twisted. Bone broke. The weapon fell. Then the human's fist drove into the soldier's throat. He collapsed, choking on his own blood. The video cut off. Thelrek had never seen anything like it. His species had eliminated physical violence from their culture 10,000 years ago. Warfare was conducted with technology at a distance. Clean, efficient. No need for barbaric hand-to-hand combat. But these humans fought like animals. No, worse than animals. They fought with intelligence behind their savagery. They used tactics, strategy. They turned their primitive nature into a weapon. Send word to the Empire, Thelrek said slowly. We may have encountered something unexpected. On the Taejong, Minji led her team through engineering. The massive room was 3 levels tall, filled with coolant pipes, reactor cores, and machinery that kept the station alive. Perfect terrain for an ambush. Kim Yuna pointed to a control panel. I can override safety protocols. Make steam vent into corridor B7. Any Vreth soldiers there will be blinded and burned. Do it, Minji said. How long? 2 minutes, Minji turned to Sora. Get on the intercom. Station-wide broadcast. Tell any surviving crew to avoid corridor B7. Sora ran to the communications panel. Her hands flew over the controls. Intercom is fried. The pulse killed it. Then we do this the hard way, Minji said. She pulled out a marker from her pocket and ran to the nearest wall. In large letters, she wrote, Avoid B7 steam trap. It was crude but effective. Any human who saw it would understand. The Vreth could not read human writing. Yuna finished her work. Ready? The steam will vent in 5 minutes after I activate the sequence. We need to lure them there. Leave that to me, Minji said. She walked to the engineering entrance and stood in full view. Her knife was in her hand. Blood still stained her armor vest. She waited. It did not take long. 3 Vreth soldiers appeared at the far end of the corridor. They saw her immediately. They raised their weapons. Minji ran. She sprinted down corridor B7, her boots pounding on the metal floor. Behind her, the Vreth soldiers gave chase. They were fast. But Minji knew exactly how far she needed to go. She counted her steps. 20, 30, 40. She reached the intersection and dove around the corner. Behind her, she heard the hiss of releasing steam. The Vreth soldiers' screams were not human. They were worse, higher-pitched, filled with agony that no translation could convey. When the steam cleared, Minji looked around the corner. 3 more dead aliens. Their armor had protected them from some of the heat, but steam had found the gaps. Their skin was blistered and melting. She felt no pity. They had come to take her home. They had killed her friends. This was war. Minji returned to engineering. More survivors had gathered there. 9 people now, including Commander Park Dong-yun. He looked exhausted but alive. "I saw your message on the wall," Park said. "Good thinking. We need to coordinate. Share information. Right now we're scattered. How many Vreth are left?" Minji asked. "Unknown. I counted at least 40 during the initial boarding. We've killed maybe 20, maybe more. But they're adapting. They're starting to avoid choke points. They're moving in larger groups." Junho appeared from a side corridor, his makeshift club covered in purple blood. "Confirmed. Just ran into a patrol of 8 soldiers. Too many to engage. Had to fade back." "Then we need to change tactics," Minji said. "We can't fight them in groups. We need information. We need to understand them better." "What are you thinking?" Park asked. "I'm thinking we capture one," Minji said. "Make it talk." The idea was dangerous. Maybe insane, but Minji had learned something from her fights with the Vreth. They were not as alien as they appeared. They felt pain. They felt fear. Maybe they could feel other things too, like the desire to survive. They set up an ambush near the medical bay. Minji rigged a medical supply cabinet to fall when triggered. The noise would attract attention. Then they waited in the dark, hidden behind surgical equipment and supply crates. A single Vreth soldier entered the bay. It moved cautiously, weapon raised. It approached the cabinet. The trap sprung. Supplies crashed to the floor. The soldier spun toward the noise. Minji and Junho hit it from both sides. They had modified fire extinguishers, removed the safety pins. They sprayed the soldier with foam, covering its face and sensors. The alien stumbled, blinded. Sora threw a net made from cargo strapping. The Vreth soldier fell, tangled and thrashing. Before it could free itself, Minji jabbed it with a syringe. Sedative. Human dosage ×4 based on the alien's size. The soldier's movement slowed, then stopped. It breathed heavily but did not move. "Quickly," Minji said, "before more come." They dragged the unconscious Vreth into a storage room and locked the door. When the alien woke, it found itself tied to a support pillar with cargo straps. Its armor had been removed piece by piece. Its weapon was gone. Minji sat in front of it, her knife resting on her knee. The Vreth's 4 eyes focused on her. It tried to speak, but the translator on its armor was in a pile with the other equipment. Minji held up the translator device. She had studied it while the alien was unconscious. It was sophisticated technology, but the basic interface was simple. She activated it and attached it to her vest. "Can you understand me now?" she asked. The Vreth nodded slowly. "You are making a mistake, human. The Empire will not negotiate for prisoners. You should kill me or release me." "I don't want to negotiate," Minji said. "I want information. You're going to tell me everything about your species, your weaknesses, your biology, how you think, how you fight. I will tell you nothing." Minji leaned forward. "Let me explain something. I'm a combat medic. I know hundreds of ways to cause pain without causing death. I can keep you alive and screaming for days, or you can talk and I can make this easy. Your choice." The Vreth stared at her. Its eyes showed something Minji recognized. "Fear. Your species," it said slowly, "is barbaric. We eliminated such cruelty millennia ago. Your species eliminated it because you became dependent on technology," Minji said. "You forgot what it means to fight with your hands, to survive with nothing but your will. That's not barbaric. That's human." Over the next hour, the Vreth talked. Its name was Veltis. It was not a soldier, but a xenobiologist, drafted into military service because the Empire needed every body for expansion. It had never wanted to fight. It had spent its life studying other species, not killing them. Veltis told them everything. The Vreth had conquered 400 star systems. They had never encountered real resistance. Their electromagnetic pulse weapons disabled every species' technology. Without weapons, most species surrendered, but the Vreth had a weakness. Their bodies had evolved with their technology. They were taller and faster than humans, but their bones were lighter. Their muscles were weaker. They could not take physical punishment the way humans could. Their cardiovascular system was efficient for their normal lifestyle but could not handle prolonged physical combat. Extended fighting would exhaust them, even kill them from stress. "You are the first species," Veltis said quietly. "That became more dangerous when we took your weapons away." Minji absorbed this information. She looked at her small group of survivors. Humans who had been miners and scientists yesterday, humans who had become warriors today because they had no choice. "Tell me," she said to Veltis, "what happens when the species you've conquered learn what we've learned? What happens when they realize the mighty Vreth Empire can be beaten with nothing but courage and hands and the will to be free?" Veltis said nothing, but in its 4 eyes Minji saw the answer. The Vreth Empire's greatest fear was not a more advanced species. It was something much simpler, much more human revolution. Veltis watched the humans move through their damaged station with something close to wonder. His 4 eyes tracked the female called Minji as she treated wounds on her companions. She worked with efficient hands, cleaning burns and wrapping injuries with supplies from damaged medical kits. "Your hands," he said through the translator. "You use them for healing and killing equally. How do you reconcile this?" Minji did not look up from bandaging Yuna's arm. "Humans have always been both. We create and destroy. We heal and harm. It's our nature. My species abandoned such duality," Veltis said. "We chose advancement over barbarism. How did that work out for you?" Minji asked. She finished the bandage and finally met his eyes. "You're tied to a pillar in a conquered station. Your soldiers are dying to people with knives. Your advanced civilization is losing to primitives. Still think you made the right choice?" Veltis had no answer. His species had written volumes about the end of physical violence. Philosophers had celebrated it as the ultimate evolution. The Vreth had looked at their history of war and blood and said never again. They built their society on technology and distance. Clean warfare, precise conquest. But watching these humans fight, Veltis understood something his professors had never taught. Violence was not just about hurting. It was about will, about refusing to break, about standing when every logical calculation said you should fall. The Vreth had eliminated the violence but also the will. "Tell me about human biology," Veltis said. "I need to understand." Commander Park approached with a datapad that somehow still worked. "Why should we teach you anything?" "Because," Veltis said carefully, "I want to help you. My loyalty is to science, not the Empire, and what I'm seeing here is scientifically fascinating. You are the first species to resist us successfully. I need to know why." Minji studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Kim Yuna, pull up what you can on human anatomy. Let's teach our guest exactly what he's fighting against." Over the next hours, Veltis learned. The humans explained their physiology with the enthusiasm of people sharing a secret weapon. Their bones were dense, designed to support heavy muscle under high gravity. Their muscle fibers could generate enormous force in short bursts. Their pain tolerance was shockingly high, a result of evolution on a dangerous world. Earth, Minji explained, was not kind to our ancestors. Everything tried to kill us: predators, weather, disease, other humans. We survived by becoming the most dangerous thing on the planet. We learned to hunt animals bigger and stronger than us. We learned to fight each other with rocks and sticks and eventually with nothing at all. Your planet made you into weapons, Veltis said. Our planet made us survivors, Minji corrected. There's a difference. Veltis asked about their martial arts. Minji demonstrated basic moves, showing him how humans train to disable opponents twice their size. The efficiency was brutal. Every move targeted vital areas: eyes, throat, joints, groin, places where armor could not fully protect. We've had thousands of years to perfect killing, Minji said without pride or shame. Every culture developed their own methods. Korean Taekyon, Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, Chinese Kung Fu, Filipino Kali, Russian Sambo. Each one teaches different ways to break a body. But you also heal, Veltis said, confused. You know anatomy to harm and to help. This seems contradictory. It's practical, Minji said. A medic who understands injury can prevent it. A fighter who understands the body can end fights quickly. It's all the same knowledge, just different applications. An explosion shook the station. Alarms blared. Chunhyo ran into the room, breathing hard. Vreth are using explosives, he reported. They're blowing through bulkheads. They've sealed off sections 5 through 7. They're trying to trap us, Park cursed. How many soldiers? At least 15 in the group I saw. They're moving in force now. No more small patrols. Minji looked at Veltis. How long until your reinforcements arrive? 2 days, Veltis said. Maybe less. The Empire sent a message before your communication systems died. More ships are coming. Then we have 2 days to figure out how to survive, Park said. He looked exhausted. They all did. Fighting for hours without rest, without proper food, in darkness and fear. Or, Minji said slowly, we have 2 days to change the equation. She explained her plan. It was ambitious, maybe insane. They would use Veltis's knowledge to set up a trap, not to kill more Vreth soldiers, but to capture their commander, Thelrek himself. He will be on his ship, Veltis said, surrounded by guards and security systems. Impossible to reach. Nothing is impossible, Minji said. We just need to make him come to us. They worked through the night. Yuna managed to restore power to a single communication array. She had to bypass 10 burned circuits and reroute through systems meant for life support. But she did it. The array could send a message, but nothing more. Park recorded a message. His voice was steady despite his injuries. This is Commander Park Dong-yun of the human vessel Taejang. We surrender. We request terms. We wish to negotiate with your commander directly. It was a lie, of course, but Veltis said the Vreth believed in honorable surrender. They would expect the humans to eventually break. Thelrek would likely come to accept the submission in person. It was tradition. They sent the message. Then they waited. Minji sat with Veltis in the quiet that followed. The xenobiologist watched her clean her knife for the 20th time. The blade was spotless, but she kept cleaning it anyway. You don't want to kill, Veltis observed. I can see it in your body language. The way you hesitate before each fight. The way you treat wounds even on enemies. I'm a medic, Minji said. Killing goes against everything I trained for. But sometimes survival requires doing things we hate. Your species is full of contradictions, Veltis said. Warriors who hate war. Killers who value life. Primitives who understand philosophy. We're not primitives, Minji said quietly. We're just practical. We kept the old skills because we knew technology could fail. Looks like we were right. A sound echoed through the station. Footsteps, many of them. The Vreth were moving in force. Junho appeared at the door. They're coming. 50 soldiers at least. And something else. Something big. Might be their commander. Positions, Park ordered. Everyone to the cargo bay. Minji, you know what to do. The cargo bay was massive and mostly empty. Perfect for their trap. They had rigged support cables to fall when triggered. Fire suppression systems ready to flood the room with foam. Emergency bulkheads that could seal sections off instantly. And Minji standing alone in the center of the bay. Visible, vulnerable, bait. The Vreth entered slowly. Dozens of soldiers, their weapons raised. And in the center, taller than the rest, wearing armor that seemed to be made of liquid metal, was Thelrek. You wish to surrender? Thelrek's voice boomed through the bay. I wish to talk, Minji said. She kept her hands visible and empty. You've lost 27 soldiers taking this station. We've lost 12. At this rate, you'll win, but barely. Or we can end this now, peacefully. Thelrek studied her. You are the one who killed my soldiers. I've seen the recordings. You fight like a savage. I fight like a human, Minji corrected. There's a difference. Explain it to me then. Why do humans cling to primitive methods? Why not embrace advancement? Because advancement is fragile, Minji said. Your pulse weapon killed our technology, but you can't kill our hands. You can't kill our training. You can't kill the knowledge that's been passed down for thousands of years. We remember how to fight without machines. Do you? Thelrek's 4 eyes narrowed. A pretty speech. But words won't save you. The Empire is vast. Even if you kill everyone on this ship, more will come. Your entire species cannot stand against us. Maybe, Minji said, but we'll make you pay for every meter. Every station. Every world. We'll teach every species you've conquered how to fight the way we do. With hands, with will, with the refusal to break. How long will your empire last when every slave knows they can kill their masters with nothing but courage? For the first time, Thelrek looked uncertain. Around him, his soldiers shifted. They had felt that courage. They had died to it. You offer surrender, Thelrek said slowly. But you threaten revolution. Which is it? Minji smiled. It was not a nice smile. I guess you'll have to trust me to find out. Thelrek made a gesture. His soldiers lowered their weapons slightly. He took a step forward, and Minji triggered the trap. Cables fell. Foam erupted. Bulkheads slammed shut. The cargo bay became chaos, but controlled chaos. Human chaos. Park and Junho dropped from above, landing on Vreth soldiers. Yuna triggered the gravity in one section, sending aliens floating helplessly. Sora opened an airlock for 3 seconds, enough to pull soldiers toward it before slamming it shut again. And Minji ran straight at Thelrek. The commander was fast. He raised his weapon. Minji slid beneath the shot. Her knife found the gap in his armor at his knee. The blade cut deep. Thelrek fell. Before he could recover, Minji was on him. Her hand found a pressure point Veltus had taught her about. A nerve cluster at the base of the Vreth neck. She pressed hard. Thelrek's eyes rolled back. He collapsed unconscious. Got him, Minji shouted.
Fall back!
The humans retreated through passages too small for armored Vreth to follow. They dragged Thelrek with them, his unconscious form surprisingly light. 23 days after the first Vreth attack, sensors on the Taejung detected multiple jump signatures, ships emerging from faster-than-light travel. Big ships. Minji stood in the damaged command center and watched the displays that Yuna had managed to repair. Her heart hammered in her chest. This was it. Either rescue or death. I count 15 vessels, Yuna said, her fingers dancing over the controls. Wait, I'm getting transponder codes. They're human. The command center erupted in cheers. Humans, who had lived in darkness and fear for 3 weeks. Humans who had fought with knives and pipes in their bare hands, finally allowed themselves to hope. The largest ship on the display was massive, easily 3 times the size of Thelrek's flagship. The name appeared on the screen. EDS Incheon, Earth Defense Ship. A dreadnought. Incoming transmission, Sora said from communications. A face appeared on the screen. An older man with steel-gray hair and a scar running down his left cheek. His uniform was crisp despite the long journey. His eyes were hard. This is Admiral Quan Taejin of the Earth Defense Fleet. Taejang, please respond. Park stepped forward, looking like he had aged 10 years in 3 weeks. Admiral Quan, this is Commander Park Dong-yun. We are still here. We are still fighting. Something changed in the Admiral's expression. A flicker of pride. Commander, your distress signal reached Earth 20 days ago. It took us 2 days to assemble the fleet and 20 days to reach you. Your message said you were under attack by an unknown alien force. What's your status? We have 43 survivors out of an original crew of 60, Park said. We have killed or captured approximately 70 Vreth soldiers. We are holding their commander hostage. The Vreth fleet is still here, blockading the station. Silence on the other end. Then Admiral Quan leaned forward. Did you say you captured their commander? Yes, sir. With a knife. The Admiral laughed. It was a sharp, barking sound. Commander Park, I'm reading your battle reports now. My tactical officer is going over them. This is the most insane defensive action I've seen in 30 years of service. You fought them hand to hand? With knives and pipes? We didn't have a choice, sir. Their EMP weapons killed our guns, but they didn't kill our training, or our will. Outstanding, the Admiral said. We received your tactical reports on Vreth biology and combat doctrine. Every Marine on every ship in this fleet has studied them. Every soldier knows about the pressure points, the weak cardiovascular system, the gaps in their armor. You've given us a blueprint for fighting these things. On the Vreth flagship, alarms were blaring. Their sensors had detected the Earth fleet, 15 warships, thousands of human soldiers, and every single one had read Minji's reports on how to kill Vreth soldiers with bare hands. The second in command, a Vreth named Kelthrin, stared at the tactical display in horror. We must withdraw. We cannot fight a fleet this size. Our commander is held captive, another officer said. The Empire does not abandon its own. The Empire does not send soldiers to their death either, Kelthrin argued. Look at what those humans did to our boarding parties, with no weapons. Now they come with weapons and superior numbers. This is madness. The debate continued, but it was already too late. The human fleet split into 3 groups. One moved to blockade the Vreth flagship. One took positions around the Taejang, and the third approached a smaller Vreth vessel that was trying to flee. Admiral Quan's voice came over the general frequency. Attention Vreth Fleet, you are surrounded. Your commander is in our custody. You have one chance to surrender. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. You have 5 minutes to comply. On the Taijong, Minji stood over Thelrek. The Vreth commander had regained consciousness 3 days ago. Since then, he had watched his captors with increasing respect and fear. Your species is different, he said to Minji. Other species break. They adapt to conquest. They accept their place. But you teach others to fight back. Because freedom matters more than peace, Minji said. A comfortable slave is still a slave. The fleet will not surrender, Thelrek said. They will fight. Then they'll die, Minji said simply. We know how to kill your soldiers now. We've taught thousands of humans the techniques. Your advantage is gone. On the Incheon, Admiral Quan watched the countdown timer reach 0. The Vreth had not responded to the surrender demand. All ships, he ordered. Deploy marine assault teams. Remember your training. Get in close. Use the EMP against them. Make them face us without technology. The Marines launched in small assault craft. Each soldier wore lightweight armor designed to be discarded quickly. Each carried a pulse rifle but also knives, clubs, and hand weapons that required no electronics. They knew what would happen. The Vreth would use their EMP. The human guns would die. And then the real fight would begin. A Vreth cruiser tried to run. Human fighters intercepted it. The Vreth ship fired its EMP weapon in desperation. All the human fighter systems died. The pilots lost control, but the fighters had been equipped with mechanical backup systems, control surfaces that moved with cables instead of electronics, engines that could be restarted manually. The pilots fought with dead controls and managed to keep their craft from crashing. Then they rammed the Vreth cruiser. No shields could stop kinetic impact. The fighters hit at combat speed. Explosions bloomed across the alien hull. The cruiser listed damaged but not destroyed. Marine dropships followed the fighters in. They crashed through the breaches. Marines poured out, ready for the EMP that would kill their weapons. The Vreth soldiers inside the cruiser fired their EMP. Human rifles died, and the Marines smiled. They had been waiting for this, training for it. They dropped their useless guns and drew knives, clubs. Some just cracked their knuckles. The Vreth soldiers realized their mistake too late. They had taken away the humans' technology, but they had given humans exactly what humans wanted: close quarters, personal distance, the kind of fight humans had been perfecting for millennia. One Marine, a woman named Yoon Hyejin, led her squad through the Vreth ship. She had studied Minji's reports until she could recite them in her sleep. She knew every weak point, every vulnerable spot, every way to kill a Vreth soldier with her bare hands. She moved like water, flowing between enemies. Her knife found gaps in armor. Her fists struck nerve clusters. Her elbows smashed into joints. Behind her, her squad followed, a wave of determined humans who refused to be stopped by something as simple as dead technology. Within an hour, the Vreth cruiser had surrendered. Within 3 hours, 4 more Vreth ships had been captured. The flagship remained defiant, but its crew was terrified. Admiral Quan contacted the flagship directly. I have your commander. I have your ships. I have Marines who can take your vessel room by room. Surrender now, or I'll show you what humans do when we're not being polite. Kelthrin made the decision. He ordered all Vreth forces to stand down. The flagship powered down its weapons. Human Marines boarded carefully, weapons ready. But the Vreth did not resist. They stood in their corridors, tall and proud and defeated. They watched humans walk through their ship with the confidence of conquerors. Yoon Hyejin found the bridge and accepted Kelthrin's surrender personally. She was barely 5 feet tall. He towered over her at 8 feet. But when she met his 4 eyes with her too, he was the one who looked away first. You fought well, he said quietly through his translator. We did not expect such resistance. You didn't do your research, Hyejin said. Humans don't quit, ever. You can kill us, you can take our weapons, but you can't break our will. That's the one thing we'll never surrender. On the Taijong, Minji watched the human fleet take control of the Vreth vessels. She felt tears on her cheeks. Relief. Exhaustion. Pride. Yuna hugged her. We did it. We actually did it. We survived, Minji corrected. That's all we did. We survived long enough for help to arrive. But that was everything. Survival was humanity's greatest talent. The ability to keep fighting when logic said to quit. The refusal to accept defeat even when defeat seemed inevitable. Admiral Quan himself came aboard the Taijang with a security detail. He walked through the damaged corridors, seeing the scorch marks and dried blood. Purple and red mixed together, the colors of battle. He found Minji in the medical bay treating the last of the wounded. She looked up when he entered, then tried to stand at attention. Her legs nearly buckled. She had not slept in 40 hours. At ease, soldier, Quan said, or medic or whatever you are. I'm just a survivor, sir, Minji said. You're more than that, Quan said. He pulled out a data pad. Your reports reached Earth. High Command has been studying them. You've changed the way we fight. Every Marine in the fleet knows your name. Li Minji, the woman who taught humanity how to win wars without weapons. I just did what any human would do, sir. I adapted. No, Quan said. Most people would have given up. Most people would have surrendered when their guns died. You didn't. You turned a disadvantage into an advantage. You remembered what humans are at their core. Survivors, fighters, killers when we need to be. He handed her the data pad. Earth wants you to come home. They want you to train our forces. Teach them what you learned, how to fight when technology fails, how to beat enemies that think they're invincible. Minji looked at the data pad, then at her friends, the survivors who had.